I might have done that when I unmuted her, but I want to just be able to see our staff. And Brianna just let me know that we are live.
Just so you know, whenever you give someone the right to speak, that is what gives them the right to also be on the panel here or whatever. She's not a panelist, just the right to speak puts them on the panel.
I figured that, but I couldn't figure out how to take her back off without removing her completely. It looks like you figured that out, so thank you.
Yep, we're good.
That's why you make the big bucks over there in the IT closet. All right, I'd like to hear from Michael Graham. Make sure that we have you there. And since you were with them, could you tell me, are we going to see Council members Wood and Curry any moment now?
Yes, they are signing on. They should be signing on immediately.
Very good. We will wait for them to sign on.
They had to leave the General Government Committee meeting and then go to their respective places, wherever they're chiming in from.
Gotcha.
I received a text from EJ and she is dialing in, but she's as an attendee. Can you change that?
Yes. That is going to be her right there. EJ, can you unmute yourself? You should have pushed a, there you go. Can you say hello?
Hello.
All right, yes. Can you hear us okay, EJ?
I can. I will have to leave before the meeting is probably over.
Okay. You're also very, very quiet, just so you know. And then still waiting for Councilmember Wood. There's Councilmember Carmody. Can we do a sound check with you?
Check, check,
Check.
check.
Checkmate. All right. I know that Councilmember Wood was going to come on. I don't want him to miss this first presentation. Nice curtains, Molly.
Thanks. What am I missing?
Nothing. I just, your camera swiveled and I just was commenting on
Right.
the new view.
You okay with walking from?
There's Mr. Wood.
I am here.
Well, you're just in time because we are starting the meeting. So again, welcome everybody to the study session of the Yelm City Council, March 2nd, 2021. We will call the meeting to order and have City Clerk Lori Lucas take the roll call, please. Excuse me, we don't do that at these meetings. Lori, have you accounted for all of the council members present?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. In that case, Michael Graham, are you in a position to help Deb Larson do her presentation?
I'm set up to have Deb do her presentation.
Okay, very good. Then we're going to, I'll just let you know right now that the agenda stands as was distributed with the exception of D. There's been some changes that need to be processed, and so we've moved the water rights overview to a later meeting, and you'll understand why when we bring that new information to your attention. But for now, we'll start with 3A, the tiny home villages for the homeless. Deb Larson to present. There she is. Now, Deb, we see your PowerPoint, but I don't hear you.
Yep, I gotta get her to be promoted here. I am just trying to find where the button goes after I share it. All right, Deb Larson, you are unmuted and you can unmute yourself and speak now.
Okay. Thank you. I'm Deb Larson, a founding member of Love Abounds here, a 501c nonprofit. And I appreciate the council's willingness to allow me to bring our ideas to you today. This presentation is about Love Abounds here's efforts to help the homeless in our community the facts about who the homeless are and what they need, the work of the city's homelessness task force, the needs identified by the task force, and our solution to those needs. Now, we'll be talking about how we can work together as suggested by the task force recommendations. Love Abounds here works with the homeless, providing for survival needs and staying clean. Next slide. We also provide homeless in the Yelm area with warm clothes, clean clothes, camping gear, warm bedding, food, showers, and clean living space by providing dumpsters and trash bags and keeping the space clean. We plan to expand that. Next slide. We also advocate for the needs of Yelm homeless people with Thurston County, with the city of Yelm, with potential funding agencies, with the public, with agencies and organizations serving the homeless. Since we've been operating in 2016, we had an 80-year-old man named Ben who received veteran services in a permanent housing situation. He was in temporary housing while we helped him. Earl is another success story, and we were able to help both of these men because they had housing for a short time. This leads us to believe, like others working with homeless, that housing needs to accompany casework to accomplish long-term success. We hope to see many more people stabilized in transitional housing so they can heal from trauma, get jobs, find resources, and permanent homes. Next. This is at the top, another of our board members, Susie LaFergie, who does a lot of outreach work with the homeless and provides them with doing shopping from her car, which you see on the left and on the right. Those are homeless people getting supplies. And on the bottom left, we have Kevin, who's out to dinner. And on the right is Mr. B, I believe, in his car. That's where he lives. Next. This is Yana Cook, who is another founding member of the Love Abounds here, and the different kinds of supplies we provide and food we provide. Next. This is a site that we cleaned up. It's the place behind the Nisqually Plaza where several people were camping. And Love Abounds here went in and cleaned it all up so it looks like the top instead of the bottom. That's what we do for community outreach. This shows the numbers of people that were counted as homeless in the different years that we conducted the PIT survey. That's what I call it. It's the point in time count that the county does every year. And on the left in each column, you can see the actual number that were counted on that particular day and time. On the right is the orange bar that shows what we estimated the count should be based on our knowledge of the community. In 2020, we did a count on a very rainy, lousy day, and we only got 34 people out to be interviewed. But we estimated there were about 50 people because we knew some of the people who were not there. And then in 2021, we used a little different means of counting. We had 4 days to count the homeless, and we only basically had to find out their name and what they looked like. And that was all we did. We didn't ask a long, lengthy questionnaire. So we had a lot better response there and found 54. It's about the same as what we thought was estimated in 2020. But in addition, we know that there's about 10 to 15 more people that we were unable to count because of COVID. So that's how the numbers are stacking up. A history of Love a bit. There's a history of Love Abounds here from 2016 through 2020. Basically, we've been offering people who are homeless a chance to shop for free from the cars that we drive. So we have blankets, we have camping gear and clothing and other items that they need to survive. Then in 2017, we were trained to do the point in time census. And since then have conducted the PIT survey every year, trying to count the homeless in our community and figure out what their needs are for services. In 2018, the first year we did it, within hours of the survey, the homeless camps were swept. This created difficulty with trust for Love Abounds here and the city of Yelm within the homeless community. Now, we've continued to do this. In December of 2020, we started doing a new activity, which is providing showers for homeless people and others in the community who really don't have access to a shower. And they also started to partner with Capital Recovery Center in early 2020. And they were able to help provide us with substance abuse counseling. Next slide. This is the group busy with the shower trailer. On the left top is Chris Patra, our great helper who is on the board of directors as well. And he's cleaning out the showers. Then the rest of the people are just the staff who are volunteers that help put together the shower trailer experience. And on the right top is our shower trailer. That's the actual trailer where the showers are. And then we also allow them to shop for free at the shower so they can get clean clothes and maybe shoes or any number of items that they need to stay warm and stay healthy. And we have also on the left, the shower trailer doesn't need a drain or anything because the red truck takes away the gray water. That's it. Next. Now, during the homelessness task force, a lot of difficult sessions were held where people were feeling very upset about us talking about the homeless. And during the meetings, several problem areas were brought up in regard to our homeless neighbors. This list of community beliefs is a sampling of the complaints. On the left is the belief, and on the right is a data-based reality related to that belief. Housing homeless causes more homeless to come to Yelm. Basically, the homeless that are in Yelm now are from this area. 80% of the homeless in 2020 were from the Yelm area. Only 2 were from Olympia, and 2 were from Tacoma, and 1 was from out of state. So basically, the rest of the people are all from Yelm. Homelessness is largely the result of job losses and evictions, and that's the primary cause. Other causes are family disagreements. Some people, but usually there's some reason that they're homeless. because of a fight or disagreement with their family. All homeless are criminals. Well, in 1 month last year, we counted with the police department that only 1 person in 30 crimes that were reported were from a person who had no address. All homeless are drug addicts. We estimate maybe 1 in 4 of our homeless people use drugs. Could be a little more or a little less, but that's a good guesstimate. Often drug use comes from self-medication or mental illness. This is well documented in the literature. Next slide. They want to be homeless. Now, here I don't have a data-based reality, but I can ask you, would you want to camp in a tent or a vehicle with minimal gear in 20-degree weather? I know that for myself, I would not want to do that. I do enjoy camping in the summer and will stay out for a week or 2 at a time, but I am not interested in doing that in 20 degrees, nor am I interested in camping to hunt for deer or elk. But that's for some people, but it's not 24/7. And these people live outside all the time, every day and night. Now, the next belief is they don't want to work. People want to work, and some do work. Homeless people have trades, but sometimes can't find work. Barriers to them finding work include no phone, no address for mail, no email, no transportation. They may lack skills. They may not have identification. So all of these things stand in the way of finding work. The last belief is that they are dirty, messy, and have bad habits. Right now, the shower trailer helps the homeless get cleaned up and have clean clothing. So they're not as dirty and messy as they once were. But Love Abounds here is also organizing trash pickup, and we need to provide trash bags, dumpsters, and porta potties so that people can take care of their basic needs and they can keep the trash picked up. Next. In the summer of 2019, Susie LaFergie and myself interviewed 15 churches, nonprofits, veterans, Lions Club, Rotary Club, and other benevolent organizations. And we identified local resources in Yelm, and that went to the homeless task force. We also identified homeless priority needs, and I think that got left out of the homeless task force report. Basically, the homeless were found to need housing, counseling, and case management to connect them to the homeless with services, and also showers and laundry, which we've taken care of the showers, and I think the Emmanuel Lutheran Church takes care of laundry to some degree by appointment. But these are the top 2 or 3 very important needs that the homeless had that were found during that survey that Susie and I did. And we reported it to the task force. Next. Basically, we plan to write a proposal to Thurston County for the following. In order to deal with the need for housing, we plan to construct 10 tiny homes in a village with power, water, porta potties, garbage, sinks, and showers, if possible. And this would comply with social distancing for COVID-19. Right now, it's difficult for shelters to provide enough social distance to allow them to live safely within a shelter situation. And that's also ended up in having less and less shelter to be available for people. We also want to hire a half-time counselor case manager to do outreach and link homeless to the services in Olympia and locally. We also are looking to provide counseling to empower self-reliance and purchase a mobile unit for individual and group counseling. They would be able to find people where they are located and provide services where they are located. We'll continue partnering with local churches, Homeless Task Force, Lehigh, the Low Income Housing Institute, Quixote Communities, Capital Recovery Center, and Faith Alliance of Olympia in 2021. We'll continue showers 2 times a month, and we'll expand trash pickup to monthly. Next. Lehigh is the Low Income Housing Institute, and it sells 8 by 12 kits for individual tiny houses that cost $2,700 a piece. They're being manufactured in Seattle and will require assembly. But many places are using the tiny homes. The Faith Alliance of Olympia build Hope Village and also is continuing to build more tiny houses. Quixote Communities in Olympia and Ording have large communities of tiny houses. In Ording, they have just finished a 30 tiny house village for veterans. And in Olympia, they have the Quixote Village, which is very large for long-term homeless. And these are some of the tiny homes and people who build them. Go ahead. Capital Recovery Center provides casework and referral for treatment of mental health issues and substance use. These are our partners. Build-A-Bus provides the shower trailer monthly for homeless and others who do not have access to hot water and electricity to take showers. The Church of Living Water provides water and space for the shower trailer and the event. Thurston County Office of Housing and Homeless Prevention coordinates with us for the point in time survey and also provides emergency supplies through their shelter in place program. Next. These are our homeless clients. This is some of our homeless clients. Next page. These are some of the more of our homeless clients. And last night I just met 2 more people who are homeless, a young couple, and they are living in their car for the last month. But I was able to provide them with some supplies, and we are very happy with having them as more clients. Next slide. In conclusion, I'd just like to say that these are our board members, Chris Petra, myself, Susie Lufergi, Yana Cook, and Yolanda Markle. We have a PO box that you can write to us and a Facebook page that you can find easily by just looking online for Love Abounds here. We have 165 members of that group. It's a closed group, but we have that many members. And the email is there. And in conclusion, I'd like to just quote from Philippians 1:9, and that's, "In this I pray, that your love may abound yet more and more." Thank you.
Well, thanks, Deb. Council, do you have any questions for Deb on her presentation? Councilmember Carmody?
Yeah, thanks, Deb. That was really impressive. Thank you so much. I learned a lot about what you guys do. It's a good thing that you're doing. I'm just wondering where your funding source is. Like, who gives you guys money to do this kind of stuff? I'm hoping it doesn't come out of your individual pockets.
Some of it does, but We've been fundraising on Facebook and have done pretty well. Not anything, a large amount. What we'll be doing with the proposal I laid out today is we'll be going to the county for looking for funding for this next 2 years.
And have you guys, like, are you applying for funding? Like, are you writing grant proposals for, you know, to different organizations, not just the government organizations, but, you know, individual large grant funding organizations?
We have plans to do that. We have not done it yet, but we plan to do that in the future and are keeping our eyes open for possibilities. Any other questions?
Councilmember Stillwell? Muted? There you go. Nope. You almost had
This
it.
is EJ.
Oh, go ahead,
This is
EJ.
EJ.
Go ahead.
No, I think this presentation was just really, really good. I think it needs to be forwarded probably to the homelessness task force for them to jump into it and really research it out and provide some more statistics back to us. Because just today at our government committee meeting, we were given a proposal from Councilman DePinto that he would like to see us do a homelessness clinic at the community center. And I think that that's a good idea too, that should go back to the homelessness task force to do this, because we need to get more information on this and have more facts and figures so that we can see how we want to step in and help out at it. That's just my feeling.
I agree, and I think that that's the best place for it, but I was hearing different things, that the task force was in effect and that it had been disbanded. So I wasn't sure where to go, and I just wanted to bring this idea to the board, to the council. And I'm asking that you consider giving some land to us to place the small houses on. We're hoping for a small parcel. And we would also like porta potties, dumpsters for sanitation, and connecting power from the street to the tiny homes, and connecting water for a sanitary wash station.
Councilmember Stillwell?
Thank you, Mayor. You know, after reading Councilmember DePinto's proposal, I thought that was really good. However, going back through and reading some of the homelessness task force information on the report, I think there's a lot of gaps that we need to clarify before this comes back to council, because there's a lot of things that we don't really know, you know, what we're looking at, and there was just a tremendous number of gaps in there. So if we could get some clarification on that, maybe redefining based on some of this information, and then I think moving forward, both of these are great. I think Councilmember DePinto's idea was well thought out, and I think it could really do some good. But this homelessness task force, I think, still has to do some work to refine it and clean it up as far as that report, so we can make decisions based on what their findings were. That's all I got.
Councilmember Kaminsky.
Yes, great report, Deb. And I was going to ask, where are you thinking of putting these tiny homes? Do you have a place in mind? But I wondered if you have connected with that new gentleman that has the rehab center in McKenna.
Yes, I have connected with them, and some of our homeless may be able to move in there. I believe that they have opened in February. That was what I was told. And the stumbling block is that they're charging $475 a month rent. And many of the homeless can't afford that, but some of them can. And they also have to be on a path to sobriety. And that is an issue for some of our homeless, but it's something that might be an incentive for them to get sober. And they have support groups there and counseling and so on.
Yeah, it seems like it would be a great match. And I understand they have a parcel or something attached to that center that maybe you could put some tiny homes as an, even as a like pilot project to see how it works.
And that's Pierce County. That's where it starts to get, you know, a little bit different than what we have. But it's still something that we could talk to them about. The one thing that we had thought of when, just because it came up recently for a vote, was possibly putting the tiny houses on a little part of the dog park. I don't know if that resonates at all, or that would be one possibility. And then I know that the city has some other properties that might work.
So I think that, I mean, the homelessness task force was disbanded a year ago. And I mean, as far as I know, nobody's even talked about getting it running again. But this sounds like, from what people are saying, from what EJ is saying and Tad is saying and Deb is saying and Terry is saying, that we might need to get this all running again. I think that we're gonna have to put some major guidelines in place to run these homelessness task force meetings. You know, I don't want to have the same fiasco as what happened last, you know, in 2019. It was just, it was untenable. So I'd like to talk with Joe and figure out what we're doing. Let's figure out a timeline. Let's figure out some ground rules, and then we'll reach out to the people that were on the task force again, or that were on the task force before. I think that probably since you and Susie are both board members of Love Abounds here, and I believe Yana is too as well, I think we could only bring in one of you from that organization to represent. We can't have all of you from Love Abounds here on the board, on the Yelm task force. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Right. So let me get together with Joe, figure out a timeline, and we'll go from there, and we'll communicate with you guys probably maybe next month sometime, end of March. Is that okay?
I have a question. Oh yeah, that would be fine, but I have a question, and that's, I remember from the recommendations on the task force's report that we had suggested that there be a homelessness council or something like that, something rather than a task force.
A permanent homelessness commission, yes.
Right, a full-on citizens commission. And I don't think that ever really got off the ground. And I know that Joe's idea of having the monthly clinic at the community center was something that we all thought was maybe a good way to go forward. But this, I mean, nothing has ever gotten off the ground. So let me meet with Joe. Joe, are you okay with that?
I mean, yeah, we can chat about it, but I think it's being stalled. Like, I hate to be a naysayer, but we need specifics rather than like the general government committee saying we need more information. Like, specifically, what information do we need? What about the proposal do we not have that's ready for a full council discussion? The things that we're trying to provide here aren't earth-shattering. They're services that are already in place. I and also don't understand why the general government committee isn't moving it to whatever committee to actually debate the merits of it. My understanding was the general government committee just meets about where it would be appropriate to put that the proposal at, whether it's finance, public works, wherever, and they would have the policy discussion. That was just my understanding of it, but I'm happy to meet more about it. Starting up the task force again, starting a possible commission, but I think we need the whole council involved with this, not just myself and you. That's my 2 cents on it.
I think the timing is just right to hear from Tracy Wood from the General Government Committee.
I think Tad had something to say. Tad raised his hand too.
Tad's third in line. We're going to go Tracy and then James and then Tad.
Hey, J-Dub, I heard a couple of the council members mention that we had disbanded or that homelessness task force was no longer in effect, but I don't necessarily, and pardon me if I missed something, but I don't recall that happening as far as it being disbanded. Second, in response to what Council Member DePinto mentioned, as far as the government committee, that's what we did, was looked at it and as we're supposed to do, decided that the best place for this to move to would be the homelessness task force. But that was with the understanding that it still was, I just don't recall us disbanding that. Can you help me out with that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, let me answer the question, then I think Councilmember DePinto wants to weigh in on that. So if you look at the actual resolution that council passed, creating the homelessness task force, in the therefore be it resolved portion of that, it says that the mission is to identify and analyze existing resources for the homeless, to identify overlaps or gaps in existing services, and to identify areas in which the city may use its resources to coordinate services for the homeless population of the city of Yelm. And then it goes on to talk about what groups that will comprise and so forth. It doesn't anywhere in there state an ending point for the homelessness task force. It simply sets forth the first outcome. Expected outcome was a report at the end of the first year. So it still exists in theory. The council has not voted to disband it. And if the General Government Committee wants to move something back to them for further consideration and to flesh out a potential resolution to act on some of these recommendations, then that is exactly the function you created that task force for in the first place. Did that answer your question, Tracy?
Thank you, sir. I believe it did.
Joe, did you want to comment on that?
No, I disagree, but it's fine. I'll just let others speak.
Councilmember Blair?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I want to start off by saying I think that we live in a city, a state, a country that wants to help people, for sure. But I have a couple concerns with what I saw from the presentation. As far as are all homeless drug addicts or criminals? Or no, they're not. But there's two very distinct differences in the types of homeless people. And being someone that went through my own thing years ago, where I didn't have my own home, I get it. But there's definitely two different types of homeless. There are homeless that have lost their job and subsequently lost their home and feel helpless and lost and don't know how to get out of it. And then there are other homeless that they simply do not want to live by the expectations of society, whether that be drug use, alcohol, the way they want to live, or whatever. And to suggest that there isn't those two different things is not accurate. I'm all for trying to find some way to help people, but I am not for putting resources towards people that aren't going to help themselves. And I was a big advocate for these homeless programs, and I see so much money thrown at people that aren't doing that. Now, there are obviously this organization has a couple success stories, and that right there, boom, got my attention and kept it, because there was a couple success stories. But we see millions, billions of dollars thrown at homeless programs with little, and most, especially in the big cities, the problem just keeps getting worse. So I need to see a target, what it is we want to do, how we're going to do that, and how we're going to make sure that it's done efficiently and done with the right people. And this is going to sound bad, but the person that there are people that they choose to live in a tent They choose to leave their garbage and needles and drugs and all that crap everywhere around them with no regard to anyone else around them. There are people like that. There are quite a few like that. I mean, you can go to Olympia and see it yourself. Um, I am not going to be one that's going to support throwing what little resources we have at that. If we identify people that are homeless that truly need the help, and we will see a positive outcome from, I'm all ears. But the others, I'm not going to jump behind throwing tax money behind someone that isn't going to change. And I'm sorry if that sounds mean, but I hope I made myself clear and not sounding like a total jackass.
James, thank you for the foreshadowing. We are not asking anybody to do anything like that right now. I want to hear, but when actions do come before council, those are the very discussions that will have to be had to see which ones of these recommended actions are most useful and most efficacious in the spending of taxpayers' monies. And I think Councilmember Stillwell has something to add to this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to be clear, I guess, in not really responding to Councilmember DePinto, but this is not a council initiative. This is, the government committee would recommend that this goes to the homelessness task force. We happened to mention that because it came up today and was very timely. So I'm not sure what the point was in saying our job is to go to refer it to this or that. That's what we were getting at. However, that would typically come up next Tuesday when we go over our initiatives and give a report on this committee that we had tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember DePinto, and then Terry.
Thank you, Mayor. It wasn't presented that way. You said that there was a lot of, in the general government committee, both members, all three members were saying that it needed more information. It wasn't cooked enough. Need more facts. Need to go to this this report and maybe take away from that. But I mean, this was the same. This came from the task force. I mean, we had already mentioned this. We discussed it publicly about it. And I get it that, if we wanted to just move to the task force and start it back up and just act on it from there, I'd be happy to do that. And if Councilmember Carmody is willing to do that too, and yeah, I mean, I think this is the best option though. Is that, like the mayor said, there's different options we need to consider, and there's a lot of different factors involved with it. How many people can help, the cost of it, if there's the amount of people that are actually going to be using it, utilizing it, and not wasting taxpayer money. I thought this was pretty well thought out. This isn't a huge program that I'm proposing. I believe it would cost very little public money, taxpayer money. It'd be very, very much similar to allowing the community center to the farmers market or to another nonprofit that we currently do. And we do a lot of that for free, and we eat the costs for setup and takedown, So there are, it would be very similar to that. I'm not talking about housing or any of that stuff, which, we can have those discussions when they come, but all this is for offering access, computer access, laptops to sign up for programs that current state programs already exist for, like DSHS. They have programs to help folks that are, and not just homeless. This is for low income as well. Some of our most vulnerable citizens here in Yelm. So I thought this was a baby step that we could discuss further if the general government committee thought it was ready to go to study session or to a different committee. I didn't realize that we could move things towards other like commissions, or if this was to go to the salary commission or to others. I thought it was just strictly to subcommittees so that city council members would be speaking about this, but I'm happy to, go whatever route that the council wants to go.
Hey, Joe.
Molly, can you hold on for just a second, please? Because we had Terry Kaminsky lined up to speak and then James Blair's hands went up. So I'll call on you third, please. Joe, are you done? Okay. Terry?
Yeah, just thank you, James. I understand your points fully, and you make some very good points in what you said, so I agree. And I just wanted to ask something like a tiny village. I don't even know, is the one in Olympia still running? I remember reading it had some problems, it had to be managed, remanaged, but I do suggest that if we do something like that, we need to not reinvent the wheel and find a village that works and find out what would be needed for that. So I agree, Joe, baby steps, one thing at a time, if we want to do it, would be a good idea. Thank you.
Councilmember Blair?
Thank you. Just to clarify, my comments were not towards Councilmember DePinto's proposal. That's more the other one. And like I don't think it's a bad idea. There's a lot of thought that's going to need to go into that. In reference to the clinic at the community center, I don't see why we shouldn't do that. Opening, whether it be monthly, quarterly, whatever, find the different programs, talk to them, ask them if they want to come out once a month, once a quarter, whatever it is, and have that open to where people can come there. And that's not just directed straight at homeless. That's low income. That's whatever. I don't see an issue with that one at all. And I don't see how that would be very difficult to get going. If anything, you're attracting the people that are looking for help in that regard. And that's who we really want to focus in my opinion. Whether if DSHS has some kind of mobile thing that they bring out, this showers thing would be maybe a good thing for that point. The churches could have a little table set up to reach out to people. That seems pretty simple in my eyes, and it's not a huge investment on our part. That's getting the word out there so people know, hey, if you need help, come to the community center on this day of whatever month or every 3 months or whatever, and there will be people there that you can talk to and find help. That's a baby step right there. As far as the tiny home village, those are very expensive to operate, and I'll be straight up with you. The city of Yelm can't afford it. Period. You have multiple full-time employees in that type of setup. It's very costly. Just to hook up water and power to that alone is going to cost astronomical compared to just the $2,700 per unit. That's going to take a lot of money. And being on the finance committee, I can tell you right now, the city doesn't have it. So I think the first step is, if we want to talk about this clinic and move forward with that, that's the best first step we can take.
I'm going to go to Molly and then back to Joe, but before we do that, I just want to make sure council's still kind of tracking where we are tonight. Understand that Councilmember DePinto's well-constructed recommendation went through the process. He used the right form. He put it to the General Government Committee, and they worked on that today, this very afternoon. And after having worked on that, we'll bring it back to council for an action. And it's at that time that we'll see what the General Government Committee recommends, which if it's to take it back to the task force or to do something else with it, we'll wait to see what the General Government Committee does. There are no proposals right now before the city of Yelm to build a tiny homes village, but we did do the back research on that, and our zoning and our building codes do allow for villages of that type, so long as they're permanent and wired and piped into the grid, so they'd have to be connected to the water and sewer system at this point would be the only caveat to building a village like the ones in Olympia, which are supported by porta potties and other portable services. Nobody's asking the city to do that. Nobody's asking the city to fund or support or manage one of these villages. But any entity could come forward to the city and make such a proposal, at which point we would put it through our process like we do with any developer. They find a parcel of land that's amenable to that type of a tiny homes village. They would put their plans in, their funding, their support, all of those things, and our community development team would process that application like we typically do. So that could be coming too, but again, nothing is before the council tonight in that regard. Councilmember Carmody, I believe you were up next.
Yeah, so two things. First of all, as far as the basically both of these issues, both the tiny home community and the clinic, could be resolved without any action by council at all if a private organization decided to rent the community center and set up its own clinic and invite those representatives from DSHS, from the Thurston Volunteer Legal Clinic, from the Housing Authority. If a private organization rented the community center, it could certainly do all of this stuff and the city council would not have to make this decision. Same with the like JW said, same with the a tiny village. If a private community, if a private organization, aka a 501c3, figured out how to acquire some land, it could go through the same process that everybody who ever wants to build anything in Yelm goes through. And this would not involve council decision. It would not involve city tax dollars at all. So I'd like to suggest that rather than the city actually hosting its own clinic, that maybe we ask Love Abounds here if they would be interested in renting the community center for a $0 fee like we do for all of our 501c3s, and setting up its own clinic. I think that would solve every issue that we have here. You guys, I know that Deb and Susie are both listening in, as is Yana.
Yeah, that is a really good idea, Molly, that hadn't been approached before. So there's two things now. Based on that, you could see that group that Deb and Susie and others already have contact with coming to the city and asking to use the community center for that. And we also have the General Government Committee's action on the proposal sent in by Councilmember DePinto to see about doing something more as a city. Both of those could work together. I don't know if you can all see the chat. We shouldn't be using the chat because it makes it difficult to create a public record of these meetings. But I could certainly read the comments, or I could ask Deb to come back on and answer some of the questions. Is the council interested in that at this moment? I see yes.
Quick question.
From
There's still questions from council members, still, Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost track. Who was up next? Was you, Councilmember DePinto? Thank you. And then James.
Thank you, Mayor. And I do like what Councilmember Carmody is suggesting. I do think that I follow the page. I'm on Love Bound's page. I follow what they're doing. I think it's great that they're doing the showers. I think that's one of the coolest things that that they are doing currently. I see the tiny homes, and I'm a fan of tiny homes. I think that it done properly, and there are some places around in Washington State where it has been done properly, and it's been successful. As far as the city of Yelm paying for that and creating that, I do have concerns, as Councilmember Blair suggested, that the cost would be prohibitive for Yelm to do that and the taxpayers to burden that cost. Now, if a private organization does want to do that, that's a different story. As long as they're following regulations, going through the process, making sure everything's safe and all that, I'm not opposed to that. The only one thing that I am concerned about is if the community center is charging for that. Being a nonprofit as they are, I would hope that they wouldn't be. It would be they wouldn't be charged as some other organizations haven't been charged. And yeah, I'm fine with that. I think that sorry, I'm trying to read the chat questions right now. If that does happen, though, where we do support, there's two ways for me looking at it. one, the city could provide some leadership and actually just do it, you know, and I think it would send a strong signal to our community that we do want to help and we have a structured way of doing so, and with a low taxpayer cost and nothing extreme or anything. The other way is, sure, we could absolutely let them lead and we could take a back seat to it. Either is fine with me. It's just different ways of going about it. So my 2 cents on it. Thanks.
James, I saw that you put your hand up, but then I saw in the chat, which we shouldn't be using, that you just wanted to ask about the cost of the community center. Did you have another question?
So what my question was going to be was that if an organization wanted to set this up and applied to use the community center, we could vote to waive the fee. Yes or no?
We partner with nonprofits, as Molly suggested, that are providing a free service to the community. We've used the community center for that purpose. So as long as they're not charging and they're providing a service that's beneficial to the whole community, that nobody's excluded from the event, we can partner with them as we have been doing for several years and providing great services. There would be, of course, a small amount of our public works time and a small amount of electricity and water usage by those. But again, when you're supporting the entire community with a valuable service, I don't think we'll have much argument from anybody that it's a good use of the community center.
I think that is, if there were a organization that was going to do that, I think that's probably the best move forward. I just wonder what organization it could be.
Which is why I think, and I'm not privy to what the General Government Committee decided tonight. They just finished their meeting, but I believe going into it, the proposal that Councilmember Pinto submitted would suggest that it would go back for further consideration by the Homelessness Task Force, which comprises all of those individuals and groups and organizations that would provide the services as have been talked about tonight. So that might be the best place to have this coming together and find a path that we can all go down. So if that's what the recommendation from the General Government Committee is, we'll find out about that at the council meeting on the 9th. Councilmember DePinto.
Thank you, Mayor. And that's fine. I'm totally cool with that. Might I do suggest, though, that it is in written form that we get suggestions from the General Government Committee to what they would like to see specifically?
Like to see.
Oh, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ted. I feel comfortable at this point that this discussion has led to further action down the road. If the council is okay, I'd like to move on to our next presentation because we do have several things to attend to tonight. Councilmember Pinto.
Thank you, Mayor. Just kind of final closing thoughts. I was wondering if Deb would like to address the council on any of the many things they were talking about, and if they would be interested or not interested in providing some of those services, not providing some of those, but running that clinic.
Deb, I do have you unmuted.
Okay. Basically, I think that's a possibility. We'd have to talk about it in our board meeting, but it's a possibility. And I wanted to respond to James, just his comments a bit. I have the same concerns that you do, James. We are not planning to have any people that are currently using drugs or who have a poor attitude. There would be a screening process that's very detailed, and there would also be very specific goals and objectives for people to accomplish in order to stay housed in that tiny village. And this is just a beginning idea. I wanted you to know what we were going to put forth before the county as far as a proposal, and see if there was a possibility to partner with the city on this. But I'm perfectly willing to go back to the task force if the task force is still in effect.
Deb, or can I speak?
Yeah, go ahead, James.
Deb, I want to say, like, I love what you guys want to do. I love the idea of it. By no means when I try to like down talk the idea or anything like that. It's a huge endeavor. And I really hope there's plenty of examples across the country of things like this working. I want to see it work well for you guys. It's just be prepared to be able to respond to those concerns, because you're definitely going to face them. And like I said, I really hope it works out, because
Thank you.
there's tons of examples of it doing tons of crazy amounts of good for people and changing people's lives, and I love that whole idea.
Thank you.
There's a lot of hurdles that are going to be in the way, and
Yeah, we have some good people to collaborate with and partner with in the Quixote communities and the places at Ording, where the veterans have a new tiny village of 30 houses. So we're going to be looking at some of these other models and be putting together a detailed proposal soon for the county. And then
That's
from
awesome.
there, we'll be able to come back to the task force.
Deb and Susie, who's on attending, thank you so much for the presentation tonight and for the work you do for the most vulnerable people in our community. Is the shower bus here this Thursday? It's the first Thursday.
Yes, it is. It
So-
will be here at the Living Water Church it'll be open at 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And we do it every first Thursday at Living Water. So you can let people know that. Oh, and I also wanted to give you an emergency number. I didn't get it put into my the things that I sent out, but 1-844-628-7343 can get you to the number that will go to what is called the coordinated entry for homeless people. And that will allow you to get them services and potentially onto housing. But you have to go through them. That's the point where they enter into the system, if you have somebody you come across.
And as they have many other resources available to them, all of our police officers have that number in their phones and on their person and on pamphlets that they can hand out to people. So, and they have often referred people to the coordinated entry, which is a great resource in Thurston County that helps people find those services. So thanks for that reminder too, Deb.
Thank you for having us here today. We really appreciate your listening to our idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody take a big old breath and let her out while Michael brings up the next presentation. We're going to have a discussion on the economic development priorities that council would like to concentrate on. And we're going to have this moderated by our very own Lynn Critchfield from the Yelm Chamber of Commerce. A good segue. There you go, Lynn.
Well, hi guys. Thank you for inviting me to be here tonight to be kind of a part of your conversation. You guys should have the slides. We sent them out yesterday so that you guys could take some time and really think about it. This is definitely your, sorry, we're gonna be real mad about things. This is definitely your conversation though. So, you know, you're gonna lead it however you see fit. But I do have some questions to kind of guide you along the process. So if you want to flip that slide.
It hasn't gone into slide mode yet, has it? There it is. Can you?
Okay.
Well, I have to stay in this mode because as part of, you know, asking Lynn to come in from her perspective as a community partner and chamber leader, she put together some great questions, defined economic development to try to help walk council through some important things. And I agreed to be her scribe. So in order to take notes on what the council says, I need to keep it in this form.
And I appreciate your willingness to scribe this evening. So first of all, you know, there's just the kind of the definition from the Cambridge Dictionary of what is economic development. And of course, that is the process in which an economy grows or changes and becomes more advanced, especially when both economic and social conditions are improved. So it's really interesting that we just came out from talking about social conditions. You know, if you've heard me talk over the last 5 years or so, I've always kind of said that my goal in the community is kind of building community wealth. And I look at economic development a lot like that. You are just building community wealth, and how important that is. And so we're just gonna kind of take you on the journey of, you know, realizing what your values and your priorities are, so that you can develop a plan that has an end goal, has some goal boxes in there, so that we're not just kicking the ball down the field indeterminately. So with that, Michael, if you are ready, I think we'll just jump right into some questions. Council, if you're ready. Not everybody all at once. I feel good. Thanks, guys. So first question, based on your knowledge and involvement with the Yelm community, what does the future of Yelm look like to the people that you've communicated with? And maybe we can all open our mics and have a conversation as if we were in a room all together.
Yeah, that works really well for us, Lynn. So I would ask everybody to just unmute and be cognizant of what background noise you might have, and then you could mute if you have, well, let's say, a large loving dog barking. But then do raise your hand to be acknowledged, and we'll try to work through in a pattern so everybody has an opportunity to ask their question. Molly.
So from what I hear almost on a daily basis from people is that they like the small town feel. They like that we have a limited number of stoplights. They remember the good old days when it was smaller. They want to keep that small town, very intimate feeling. People say they don't want to become Spanaway. They don't want to become lazy. I think that's a really important consideration that we need to remember. I think people want that small town feeling. But on the other hand, we hear them saying that they want big box stores and, you know, chain restaurants coming in. So I think it's kind of half, you know, 6 of one and half dozen of the other. And I think that we need to weigh our options and say, well, what do we think that people really want? For me personally, what I think I hear the most often is that small town feel.
Anyone else want to weigh in on this question?
Jobs.
Go ahead, Joe.
Thank you. Jobs, family wage paying jobs. Not necessarily restaurant jobs, but like manufacturing and stuff like higher paid with, you know, benefits and all that. Well, not benefits. Everyone has benefits these days in Washington, but manufacturing jobs, stuff like those.
Terry?
I think more than big boxes, although I have heard that people want goods and services. They just want to have the conveniences of a big city, but like Molly said, with the quaint small town feel. And also I would say maybe a reason to come here. Let's find reasons that make us different or unique, or give us a purpose, or draw the crowds. Just, we need an identity, I think, a little bit. A vision of what we really want people to come here for. But beautification is important, as you know. It's got to look good and feel good. That quaintness comes with the way things feel, which comes from the way things look, I think, and the way the community spread out, the walkability, all those factors. And I think our downtown corridor plan will be amazing when we can get that farther down the road.
Public safety is another thing. Increased public safety, I hear a lot.
I hear a lot that it's not just Yelm, but this whole general Nisqually area, people really enjoy being a farm community. People enjoy, you know, there's a huge horse community out here, but the farms, the individual growers and makers of goods, you know, goods like, I don't know, wool or meat or eggs or whatever. People are really proud of being members of a farm community.
And do you think this covers, oh, I'm sorry.
No, Terry, I wanted to ask a question from you. When you're talking about beautification and, you know, being like some communities that have a theme, are you recommending that Yelm develop a theme? Like Tumwater has a very defined building code theme. You all have to have the green roofs and so forth to look like the old brewery. Leavenworth obviously has the ultimate in theme. Is that the kind of thing you're looking at?
I think that would be fantastic. And our new construction has that kind of frontier look theme, but especially when we talk about the corridor, you know, you go to Leavenworth, it's like, oh my God, this is so pretty. Let's get out and walk around and look at the shops. There's something to look at that's nice. So yeah, both. I would say both.
Let's also remember to let Lynn lead the discussion, JW.
That was simply a question that I had for a fellow council member.
Thank
Molly,
you.
I'm allowed to do that in the study sessions, you know?
Yes.
Thank you.
And with all of the words that you're throwing out, do you think that covers your constituents, your target audience, your demographics? Are we hitting everyone that you think we should be?
I think that we can't, there's an old saying, you can't please all the people all the time. But I think this is a pretty good cross section.
Great. Okay. So let's move on to our next question then. What values have been expressed that are important to shape that future? It's kind of a similar question to last time, but we're really trying to dig deep into the very specific values of your city.
What's a value? What do you mean by value?
What is your value? Excellent question.
I think people prefer family businesses over corporate.
Agreed.
Great. Tell me more. Is that our sole value?
I believe our value, from what I get from the community members that I have, that I'm in contact with, is that our value is that we're a bedroom community and people can go to work and deal with the hustle and bustle of living in America and dealing with the pressures and stresses of it. And at the end of the day, they can say, haha, suckers, we get to go back to Yelm where we are just taking it easy and not trying to be big stress case. Look out, we're a booming, cutting edge city. I don't think that's what the members of our community are looking for, at least the ones that I'm in communication with.
I think the
So-
friendliness,
Yeah,
the
friendliness.
friendliness of Yelm, the openness, the everyone's got your back type, how we always come together for those that need it.
Mhm.
I think,
Rally around our own.
I think people really value the community gatherings, the parades, the festivals, all the things that we do that way. It's wonderful to see people come out, enjoy the parks, and have something to do as families.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to add?
I think I agree about family over corporate. I think that's a big one as far as values go. I don't know how to express that as a value. I don't want to say intimacy because that brings other things to mind.
I'm always trying to bring lovers package into Yelm.
You said it.
I
I don't know. But I get what people are saying that but the values are hometown values, you know? I don't know what a hometown value is.
I think those hometown values are all the things that you said right before that. Is, they kind of all go into that box. So it's a good way to kind of group them all in together, is just that hometown feel.
And I think in the past, say our military members would say this is a nice, affordable little place to live, but it isn't anymore. So don't put that down. Prices are crazy.
I think a lot of people appreciate being a military community as well.
Mhm.
What was the last one?
Appreciation for being a military community.
But they will choose us over living on base or being in Pierce County because of these values that we're talking about. Especially when you have single moms with fathers that are gone.
And mothers whose fathers are gone. Or wives who's the other way around, Tara. You got it.
Lynn, if I dare, I'd like to also express a widely held value that we'd like to stay connected to our history. So the water tower, the Pride of the Prairie logo that Michael is so fond of, and in other ways, making sure that we don't forget that, where we came from.
And I personally love the connection that we have to the tribe as well, because that is part of our history.
Huge.
I love that.
That's great. Thank you. All right. So what do you see as the major issues that would need to be addressed to achieve that desired future? So when we say that desired future, we're talking about that city that encompasses those values that we just talked about, our appreciation for our history, our small town values, our hometown feel, kind of everything that we just laid out. What do you see as our major issues, or the major issues that you're going to want to look at?
Zoning rights, the fact that we can't stop certain businesses from coming in as long as they meet our certain zoning rights or certain zoning regulations. Like if a major brand wants to come in here that's a corporate brand, if they fit all our regulations, I mean, is it really our job to tell them yes or no?
I don't
No.
think we can.
I thought we weren't allowed to.
Right. But I mean, we can always change our rules. Right?
I thought they were state rules, is what I understood, but I could.
Well,
be-
I mean, you could say something like, no, you're not allowed to have a store over X amount of square feet.
Hmm.
You know, that's not discriminating against anybody. And, you know, a corporation is not a protected class. So if you say you can't, that's not discriminatory by saying that you can't have a store over X size. What?
Not yet.
Not, yeah, well, yeah.
Maybe it would be helpful, Joe, if we had an example.
I think they're laying it out. I mean, Molly did a great example, I think, right there. I mean, that is one example of how we could regulate. I personally wouldn't want to see that. I want all businesses to come to Yelm. If they want to open up and provide good wage paying, family wage paying jobs, I want them here. But I thought we were trying to discuss what major issues in the prior slides, what those issues are, how they would get here and all that. And it is zoning. It is the fact that we don't choose which businesses come into Yelm. That's not our job on council. But I mean, Molly's right though. If we want to, I mean, we could say, no businesses under like 4,000 square feet or over 4,000 square feet. Yeah. So, and if Costco wants to come in here, they could open it up with a tiny showroom.
I think one major issue to achieve the future, the desired future, would be job stability. If we can, and the job stability doesn't have to come from big, huge corporations. It can come from little mom and pop storefronts. It can come from people creating things in their personal farms and then bringing them into the city to sell. And then they can hire people, they can hire helpers. But I think job stability is a huge one, because then people feel safe, they feel more secure, they have not only do they have financial security, but they have economic security, which almost, they sound like the same thing, but they're not quite the same thing. And I don't know how to addressing job stability would be getting businesses in, but if we don't want big businesses in or big box stores, because that would change the values of Yelm, then what kind of businesses can we get?
Well, how are our little businesses doing? I mean, pre-pandemic, were they doing all fine?
I don't know. That's something we'd have to ask them.
But they would be better if we had more people coming through town.
That's a good point too, Terry. We don't know, and perhaps we could get that information somehow. And I don't know if that's what surveys. I think Molly mentioned a long time ago on council, creating a survey to see different things. I don't know if it was exactly what Molly was talking about before, and I don't want to speak for you, but perhaps doing a survey, seeing from the chamber, from the EDC, from other folks around that could give us that information of the amount of businesses that started and failed in Yelm, shut down.
Well, we have that information in the B&O tax right there. All we got to do is compare B&O taxes from each quarter. I mean, let's do pre-pandemic, but you look at the 2018 to the 2019 values, and boom, bang, you've got your answers right there. I don't know if you even need a survey. Yeah.
I bet that Shiplap sells more coffee than Starbucks. And that's a nice small business that's creative and beautiful. It's everything.
I don't know what other issues are there, you guys. I mean, we need one big issue would be we need to physically protect Yelm from becoming like Spanaway, right?
What does that look like, Molly?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we got to keep Spanaway. It's full of billboards. It's full of empty storefronts. It's full of, and I really hate to say this because it sounds bad, but tattoo parlors and pawn shops. If we're not careful, we could go down that road. So what do we do to regulate the look and feel of Yelm physically? Not that there's anything wrong with tattoo parlors, but
that downtown corridor plan was great because part of the thing was bringing density into the side street areas. And if we had that activated alley, if we had those places off the main road, it wouldn't have the Spanaway effect.
So more density?
just continuing to spread out as we are slowly doing it.
So we've had three
No,
kind of big bullet points and then some discussion under those. Your zoning regulations, job stability, and physically protecting Yelm. Do you see any other major issues?
Infrastructure,
Infrastructure?
yeah.
roads, sewer connections. make sure
Sidewalks.
that- Yeah,
Potholes.
sidewalks.
Did Tracy say something? I thought I heard
Is
Tracy
that
say
Tracy?
something.
Is that potholes?
I said potholes.
Why's it gotta be about me and potholes?
Yeah, I didn't hear you say it.
I heard it.
Please let
Speaking
the
of
record
which-
reflect potholes.
Side note regarding potholes,
Uh-oh.
what can we do about that one? Considering, from my understanding, the owner of that complex doesn't even live in the state. What can we do about that?
I think she lives in the state.
So I'm not going to usurp Lynn's authority in running this part of the meeting, but I will keep us on track. We're talking about economic development and not potholes tonight. We can-
Yep, I was just about to ask if we can put that in a parking lot and come back to it.
Thank you.
Parking lot.
But Lynn, I do have a one to add, and that is we have to sell it if we expect people to come here. So we can build it all that we want and have the nice zoning and all that, but we still have to be able to sell our city to potential commercial and industrial developers.
So that would be marketing.
Yes, thank you.
Mhm. Excellent. Anything else we want to add before we move on? We added some great points. I can't see anyone, so we're just going to do it. So our next question. So we have our 5. We ended up with 5 big bullet points. Marketing, sell it, zoning regs, job stability, physically protecting Yelm, and the infrastructure. And how might those issues be addressed?
Well, I like the idea of kind of a structured look and feel of Yelm, not as structured as Leavenworth, but maybe more along the lines of Tumwater. I really would like to see us commit to something like the Bountiful Byways and put ourselves on the map and say we want mom and pop businesses to come in here. We want the farming community to feel welcomed. And, you know, wouldn't it be cool if Yelm was that place where people go, hey, where's that cool little permanent farmer's market on the way to Rainier? Let's stop there and grab lunch, or let's stop there and grab some artisan salamis and some beautiful homemade cheeses and some honey and some yarn from, you know, the alpaca farm down the road. I mean, just something really, really super cool like that people would stop and put Yelm on the map. I think that would be really, really cool. Really put, you know, I don't know, like a permanent indoor farmers market. That's not quite, you know, it's not as outdoorsy feeling as the Olympia one, because it's cold. You know, let's face it. You walk up to the Olympia Farmers Market in the wintertime, it's cold, it's yucky. I don't know. That would give us jobs. That would give us marketing. The money from that would help with the potholes and, you know, everything else. Just an idea.
I like the idea of like the permanent farmers market. What I'm not a big fan of is like forcing the aesthetics, whether that's roof color, whatever. Because you're putting that cost on everyone that's currently here to then change the look of their building. And I I don't see that as the right thing to do. And on top of that, I mean, after what a lot of these people have had to deal with over the last year, that's just another punch in the gut.
Well, I mean, I didn't mean next year, but like, going forward, if you build,
However,
yeah.
so I was
Sorry.
gonna say, this never got off the ground, but to your point, James, I went to one of the local bars that has a beautiful design on the front of their building, but needed paint, this and that. I got free paint, free labor, free roofing tiles, and a free roofer to do the work to make a huge improvement on that one building that would have just popped on our city corner. And I wasn't able to put together the cooperation of the tenant and the owner, and it's just like the weather ensued and we couldn't do it. But I had it all at no cost, and that was going to be my theme: neighbors helping neighbors. Who can contribute this and who can do the work, and let's get it all done and let's make a plan. And it could have been done. I just didn't follow through because of the weather.
I like
And-
neighbors helping neighbors.
Yeah,
That's really cool, Terry.
Thank you. I mean, it was
Yeah.
everybody within a 1 block thing. I had people to do all that work for free, so it cost nothing. So it can be done.
Yeah, the fact that you were able to put that together is awesome. And like, if we found a way to do that at scale, cool. And I'm glad that Molly said not like Leavenworth. What a lot of people don't realize is with Leavenworth, like all of their signs, you're mandated to have that certain design, and they basically force the businesses to buy their sign from this one person. So
James, what are you eating? Stop eating.
Sorry,
It's
I'm
very
not eating it.
crunchy. Whatever you're
Sorry.
unwrapping.
It's a plastic bag, my bad.
Or
So those
business,
are, I'm sorry.
business is helping business, other business. That was the thing. But
That's great, Terry. So those are all really good issues to address for the the marketing piece, the protecting, the physically protecting Yelm. Is there any issues within zoning regs or job stability or infrastructure that we want you to take note on?
We could reduce regulations on sign ordinances.
We have
sorry,
so
can you
many
repeat?
regulations on signs already. You say
I said
you want to
reduce,
reduce, okay.
not add, yeah.
I was like, what?
Yep.
I think that was a yep in support from.
What
Councilmember
was
Blair.
the zoning thing that you were talking about, Joe?
I was suggesting, well, we don't have to, it's a suggestion. I don't know if I'd support it, but we could zone for like heavy industrial, light industrial, prevent light industrial or prevent heavy industrial to be, or dirty industrial to be in certain areas. We don't want that in Yelm.
So would that be something that the planning commission would be doing? That we would ask them to look at that? And
I'm
then
sure they'd have, yeah, they'd have to be
the
involved with
planning
that.
commission would have to do that and do that because they would do the heavy lifting on that anyway.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean we can't suggest it to them to consider.
Well, then we can definitely, that's what they answer to us. We say, go look at this. You know?
Any others?
we could just
Tad,
get
I
some,
haven't heard.
sorry, we could get some
So-
money to help with these projects by getting some grants or city planners, or not planners, but Michael, those places that do like community designs, like that would be my big dream, is to have somebody come in and say, this is what you have and you could do these things, and it would be like amazing. But somebody with an artistic eye and a flair for design to come in and show us what planning looks like what beautifications, how we could retrofit things back into making them look better. That would be my dream. And Michael and I are doing a reconnaissance mission on our journey for some art projects for downtown too.
Great.
I think also to get into some of that more of that hometown values. Everybody loves parks. The parks are so cool, and you know everybody talks about using the Yelm parks a lot. You know, even if we could add some more pocket parks in, or some, you know, some more artistic statues, or some things that are the you know, the touchy-feely stuff that's artistic and beautiful and that people really enjoy. But it have it be specific towards Yelm, you know, not just a generic statue.
I know
Stuff
that's
that
what
makes,
we kind of
I mean,
need a theme though. That would be so good.
right, yeah, I mean, that's what that answers to.
And
It's-
Tenino, they have the sandstone theme because they
Right.
have it as an indigenous part of that town, but we don't have anything like that.
We have the pride of the prairie. But see, and I mean, that's one of those things with the pride of the prairie. Why not dig into that? Why not, you know, plant, you know, get rid of all these sidewalk strips that are, you know, I mean, like look at on NP Road. It's just a huge, you know, half-mile long strip of mowed lawn. Why not turn that back into prairie? And, you know, have that be like, look, guys, here's part of our prairie that, you know, and people would, you know, walk more along that pathway.
I think we have the prairie, but we don't have the pride.
I don't even know if we have the prairie anymore.
No pride, no prairie.
Go Tornadoes.
On tornadoes.
Be
Are you
careful.
gonna sing again, Joe?
On tornadoes. No, I'm not gonna sing it.
I do have a question for you as council, from what you've all said. So you talked about wanting a structured look, feel, but then reducing regulations on signs. And it's a bit of a conflict in me in that you want more structure, but also less rules. Can
Yeah.
everybody all at once?
So that's I suggested that, but because that's what I hear from businesses. The sign ordinances is honorary. It doesn't necessarily mean that we can't regulate on other things that businesses should look like structurally, or with paint or whatnot, the feel of it. This is just specifically for signs.
So I don't know if, Joe, if you've looked at the sign ordinances lately, the sign regulations, they're very loose. They are extremely loose. I mean, you can have anything from a flashing LED to, you know, anything on any print. I mean, it's very loose. There are specific places that you can put your signs on your building and on your property, and you know, there's certain sizes. But
Perhaps
I mean, I think that the people that you know, if you read the sign regs, they're very loose.
Sure, this is just what I'm hearing from business owners, and perhaps it's not necessarily the regulations. Perhaps it's about how they approach it and the interactions with how to go get that permit for it, the cost of it, the permit, things like
Then
that.
that's
too.
a different thing than the actual regulations. Maybe it's the interaction with city staff. You know.
Perhaps.
Molly, to your point, pride of the prairie and all that organic stuff, I really wish we didn't have flashing neon signs. That's not very prairie-ish.
I
But
agree.
Too late now.
Yeah. I mean, if we tried to change it, there would be people screaming. I mean, you know, James and Joe don't want any rules.
Some, not many.
Right.
I like those signs. I like the bright signs that attract people to their business. And if it's a huge sign saying "Come shop here" or wherever, no, I can't. I understand it shouldn't be ridiculous, like huge, but
Lots of rear enders. Lots of rear enders are those signs. I tell you that.
Renders?
Yelm is like pride of the reader board,
Mhm.
you know?
I'm kind of taking a look at the notes here that we have. And I have just a couple questions that I'm just gonna toss out there. So we had talked about the comp plan, and repositioning zoning. Are we looking for more of what, less of what? Are you looking to create clusters of something?
No.
No?
I think it
Okay.
would take, we would have to actually sit down and read the comprehensive plan again. I mean, we're supposed to reread it every 7 years and modify it every 7 years, which really isn't all that often. But I think having council actually sit down and digest the comp plan,
Mhm.
I think it hasn't actually been done in a really, really long time. I know that the planning commission has done it. I mean, this is one of those things that we're supposed to be doing. And the comp plan addresses a lot of this stuff. But how we choose to follow the comp plan is kind of what we're here for.
Great. And these are our questions to kind of get that conversation started, so that you can say, oh, maybe we need to look at that more than once every 7 years. Maybe that's a conversation that we should have more frequently. Is there any other issues that we want to chat about? Don't bark, please. For addressing.
I think
Okay.
it would be nice if we heard from EJ and Tad
I would love that.
and Tracy. I feel like we're having a 3-way conversation between me and Terry and Joe here.
Well, you guys wanted to bring me up with potholes. I was kind of. No,
That's where we lost him.
no, I'm just kind of listening, kind of absorbing what I'm hearing here, getting some different perspective from what different people are thinking, and I've given what I can right now until I kind of process what direction everybody's kind of trying to pull in here.
That's fair.
Tad, do you have any?
Sorry, are you asking me for my opinion? I think that these are great ideas. I like the downtown corridor plan. I've been very vocal about that. This isn't really anything new. I do think that our sign codes have been greatly reduced. But I do think that it'd be nice to have a walkable, shoppable downtown corridor area. I don't know what else you want me to add. These are ideas that we've talked about over the last couple of years, but I'll continue to repeat them if you'd like.
Yeah, Tad's right on that, especially with the downtown corridor plan. The activated alleyway, I think that's probably one of the best parts of that plan. I would love to see that implemented.
So all the issues are just to be addressed with money. So let's go get some funding.
All the problems can be solved with money.
Easy, no problem, guys. All right, I'll see you next time. Thanks for being here.
Get on it, Lynn.
All right, so we talked about how those issues can be addressed. If there's nothing else, anybody wanted to add? EJ, I know she said she had to leave a little early. We might have lost her already.
Yes, she's gone.
Oh, thank you. JW, is there anything that you wanted to add?
Great conversation. I will tell you, though, that there is an ask to the legislature through TRPC to fund the downtown corridor plan, the reconstruction of 2nd Street, 1st Street. So if they pass that, we will have some of the funding to start moving in that direction. Yay.
Is that GW or Mayor, excuse me, is that for the entirety of that project, or just certain specific projects in it?
It won't finish it, no, but it'll get it started on 2nd Street.
Gotcha.
Molly, was that for me or for Lynn?
It's for Lynn, actually.
Okay.
Hey,
Yes.
Lynn. Yeah, so how could we get the chamber involved? I mean, because I could see this being like a really big project, a sort of a a dual partnership between the city and the chamber. And, you know, the chamber would be the business end of it, the city would be the regulation end of it. But I could see us all working together to really create this Yelm of the future, this, you know, bountiful byways Yelm, the farmer friendly Yelm, whatever we want to call it, whatever we decide to call it or not call it at all. But I would love to see the chamber really dive deep into this and help the city with this, because at the end of the day, the business owners and the business partners are the ones that, you know, are bringing in the economic stimulus for Yelm. So it would really behoove the chamber to majorly seriously get involved with this as well.
Yes, and that's why this conversation is so important. It's because when the city has that forward vision, it's easier to talk with your partners, you know, the chamber, the EDC, the TRPC, your regional partners, your state partners, and say, this is our project, this is our goal. Where do you fit in to help us get there?
Yeah.
Instead of kind of saying, we want to do things, what do you want to do? So having this conversation and having this plan in place makes it so much easier for all of your partners, not just the chamber, but all of your partners to come in and say, yes, we fit exactly in this. We fit exactly in this spot. This is where we belong. This is our niche. So this is that first step.
I like where Molly was going on that. And if I personally would like to see the chamber weigh in on some of these specific projects, like the activity alleyway or whatever, and say, you know, this is a priority for us. The chamber would like to see city move forward with this or that project or whatever that you think is the right way for your businesses and your members.
But
Yeah. What does the chamber think about the bountiful byways or the permanent farmers market? And, you know, I mean, the permanent farmers market could be run by something like what, you know, the current farmers market does now, the Bounty for Families, or, you know, the food co-op. It wouldn't be a city-run thing, but that needs to be part of the businesses need to be involved.
Yes. That's true. And we will be finding the spots that we want to really put our weight behind. That's just not the conversation that we're having tonight.
Right.
Because we want to talk about your priorities, and it's Lynn with the chamber, but it's not Lynn with the chamber. So it is just deciding what your priorities are. So considering all of this discussion and the plans that you've all kind of thrown out tonight, what are your highest priorities here that you want to see moving forward over the next 3 years, 5 years?
Are you asking us individually?
Yes.
Okay.
can I answer? Lynn, on the Economic Development Council breakout meeting, I think it's Tad, Joe, and I, we have already prioritized doing the downtown corridor plan. And we want to see some things done, not in 5 years, but we can do things now. We have money, I believe we can do, for instance, for the wayfinder signs. We're talking about our decorative arch. We're talking about the alley as one of the first things that we do. So we've already identified we want to do it. But I'd like to see something actually happen. And then our innovation center, that's going to be huge. That whole corner, we see maybe a new library, a school, a park where people are sitting out on the roads at picnic tables. And when you bring people and people are there, it brings more people. Right now, there's no people on the main road. And the other thing to think of is like, okay, maybe you invite your mother who lives in Switzerland to come to Yelm, and you say to her, well, let's just walk down the main road. What is there to do? You know, you could do your laundry, you could go to the bar. You know, what are the things that we could bring that people, like for instance, oh, we do have a nice jewelry store. That's very Margaret Elite. Places like that where people want to go in and look at something. So it's developing those kind of businesses in that corridor area. But we want to do the downtown corridor plan. I think that's where we really should start and do some things now, not in 5 years. Sorry, but I'm impatient.
That's fine. So with that then, Terry, what does that timing look like to you?
This summer.
Okay, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yes.
So to hit that summer 2021 goal, what's your next steps?
It's a pretty aggressive timeline.
Joe and I were just talking about aggressive timelines yesterday.
Tammy and Grant were supposed to get us, right, Joe and Tad, plans for some designs for the Wayfair, the Wayf showing signs.
Yeah.
They were supposed to get us these samples. We haven't seen them yet, but we haven't had any meetings. So
And
that
our
was,
next one, yeah, our next one's canceled.
yeah. Michael and I are going to look for instance, park benches, flower pots, things like that. We could do more plants and flowers this year, and I'll get back on my painting project. So those are things I plan to do soon.
Okay, so for me, for my priorities, I want to see a permanent indoor farmers market in Yelm within 3 to 5 years.
You mean not at the community center or in its
No,
location?
no, I want it to be on its own piece of property. I want it to be indoors, and with permanent stalls, like the Olympia Farmers Market, but fully indoors so that you don't have to wear your damn coat while you're going to the farmer's market.
Okay,
You
then
know,
if we're
and
talking,
I think that can be done in 3 to 5 years, but we need somebody to buy, we need a nonprofit to buy the land, or if they're going to buy it, they can buy it from the city of Yelm, or the city of Yelm can donate the land if we have it, you know, wherever it is, and then start building. But we need to make it easy for that to happen. And I want that to happen. And I want Yelm to be on the bountiful byways, and I want people to come to Yelm and stop on their way to Rainier, not just be a drive-through.
So Molly,
and just one thing, then I want our permanent theater back in Yelm.
Well,
The
yeah,
art theater, a place where we can bring those plays back and music and things like that.
Terry, I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Molly, your next steps then for your permanent indoor farmers market is finding a 501c3 to take that on?
Yes.
Okay, great. Next priorities. So we talked about the downtown corridor plan. These are just the things that Terry said were coming from the Economic Development Committee. Your decorative arch, the wayfinding signs, Innovation and Education Center, and the activated alley.
I have a quick question. The wayfinding signs, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Didn't the chamber get a grant for doing those?
No.
Okay. Thank you. I thought I'd seen something like that, but I wasn't sure.
You might have, maybe I'm wrong too, but it might have been in the, there's another fund that we could have went out for, and Lynn sits on that committee. Help me with it, Lynn.
So the chamber had applied for LTAC dollars for wayfinding signs, but it was not funded.
Gotcha. And that's where I think that's where James.
That's probably where you saw it, yeah.
And if I'm recalling, for the theater, didn't Jane get a $40,000 grant from somebody for the arts?
Got it from the state, but that's something that it was to the Triad Theater, as long as the Triad Theater stayed a theater in that building for 10 years. So it went away because she never used it.
Right, because the rent went up and she couldn't afford it. is what I heard. But anyway,
Is there any other priorities that we want to add?
I want to do whatever the businesses want to do, whatever helps them the most. And that's kind of why I do want to hear from the chamber, and not just the chamber, from other businesses too in Yelm, that if they say we need something, I definitely want to take a look at it, make sure that we're trying to do that and accomplish what they need.
Great.
I think one of our priorities should absolutely be getting the bypass done. Because if we want Yelm downtown to be walkable and friendly, we got to get the trucks off of Yelm Avenue. So that byway's got to get finished. Not the byway, the bypass.
Lynn, are you going to be asking these same questions of all the chamber members to get their input?
I'm sorry, James, can you repeat that?
Are you going to be asking these same questions from all the chamber members to get their input? Because I really want to hear them and what everyone else has to say. Did you hear? You couldn't hear me?
No, I can hear you. Well, this is to determine the council's plan for economic development for the city.
Yeah, I would like these same questions to be asked the chamber members and hear their opinions. Because
okay.
I mean, us on council, yeah, we all have our own ideas, but really we need to hear what everyone thinks and kind of make a more of a consensus decision as well, not just, well, this is what we want, so this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
We might think it's a great idea on council, but the business might be like, whoa, what are you thinking here? And we want to know the impacts to them and if unintended consequences, if any. So, I mean, that's, and I see where James come from, and I agree with 100% that we shouldn't be making any long-term decisions without engaging with the businesses in Yelm and the chamber, making sure that it's good with them too.
Sure, sure.
Right. Which is why I asked her that we want to involve the chamber.
Yep. And there it is on the list right there. So we've talked about your highest priorities over the next few years. We kind of talked about your next steps and your timing. So it looks like from the discussion tonight, your downtown corridor plan is your kind of your next goal. Is this correct? Thumbs up. We'll take thumbs up.
Hey, Lynn.
I'm okay with that.
Wood here.
Yeah.
I'd say the Mosman project that's been going on for quite some time, that is just like the bypass project. I'd say that's one of our priorities, even more so than the bypass, simply because that's within the city of Yelm, where the bypass is not. And I mean, we can continue to ask about it and continue to push for it with both the Transportation Policy Board as well as the Thurston Regional Planning Council, as far as making, continuing to get it to push forward. But there is a schedule of some type that it is actually, the bypass is actually on. But it seems like it would behoove us here in the city to kind of work on our street surfaces here in the city, within the city limits. Because we do have some of our downtown roads that they're pretty rough. The main roads to take you to the city hall, as well as the public safety building, are both pretty darn rough roads. So I think that would be one of our priorities.
Great. We'll make sure that that's added. What do you see for the timeline on that, Tracy?
Well, I know that we have it. It's on the books, and we have been moving forward with it. I just think that it would be a benefit to all of us on the council to be aware of where we're at on that. And I mean, not that we aren't getting reports on it, but I'd like to see it move forward a little quicker than it is, because it's been going on for quite some time now.
Yeah, I agree. And Tracy, you're absolutely right that this is something that we can affect. We can't really affect the bypass because that's a state project, but we can certainly prioritize our own downtown streets. And I mean, I agree with you. There are a lot of streets in the downtown area that really need work. You know, Jefferson on the other side of the street from the city center, I mean, from the city buildings is, you know, is bad too. Jefferson, Fourth, you know, Stevens, I mean, not Stevens, but Van Trump, all of those need sidewalks and all of them have potholes. You know, we need to work on all of those little streets, those little side streets, because the better the side streets, the more walkable it is.
And them sidewalks down Crystal Springs.
Sidewalks everywhere. Yeah.
Excellent. So in kind of in closing here, we've had a great conversation. I appreciate you guys, you know, being open with your ideas and your discussions and inviting me to be a part of it. So kind of our next steps, I know Michael and I are kind of gonna talk about the finalization of these talking points, so that you can, as a council, kind of look at your final list of priorities and what your goals moving forward are. I've taken some notes here for, you know, what I can be working on as well, so that it's easier for your partners to be successful in supporting you, and so that you can support your partners more effectively as well. So with that is kind of the end of what I have. Unless there's anything else that you guys want to talk about, want to ask, anything at all, you know, we can definitely go back to some prior slides. You just let me know.
I think this was really, really helpful. Thank you so much, Lynn, for doing this and taking time out of your day. I know you're a super busy person. I think this was a talk that we really, and we need to have this talk like every year. I mean, it can't just be a one and done thing. And this should be in our retreat that we're supposed to have. But I think this would be a really valuable thing to add to our city council sort of yearly cycle. Our calendar cycle is like looking back at our priorities, but this should be part of the retreat. Thank you so much, Lynn. I really, really appreciate your time and your help on this and helping keeping us focused, asking good questions, you know, and helping us kind of fumble our way through this. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Lynn, thank you so much. She's stopped her sharing, and I know we have a lot more work to do in that regard. But for tonight, we have to go on to our next agenda item. Does anybody need 2 or 3 minutes to go do a fluid balance? Coffee in, coffee out. I'm seeing some nods. So we will stand here in the meeting. We will not adjourn or go on recess. But we will allow several minutes for people to get their stretches in and get some water or whatever, and come back to start our next presentation at 8:08 p.m.
Thank you for everyone who's still on right now with me alone. I could just talk and talk this whole time and no one would say anything. How about them Seahawks? Russell Wilson, controversial right now. Wish I had that Jeopardy music right now. Yeah, I can play that.
Sing the fight song, Joe.
Thank you, Cody. Someone's on still. I can just play this over and over. See if you can pick it up. All right. Oh, some Star Trek themes. Good waiting music. What do I do here? Some background music. That was the only one on.
No.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to the wayfinding signs? We never did that, right?
What's up?
Whatever happened to those samples of the wayfinders?
I don't know. We asked a few months ago.
Yeah.
I don't. Last I remember, they were gonna get some what's called drafts for us.
Do we have a meeting this week? Because I got a notice and then I got a cancellation.
Yeah, no, I think it's canceled. You said April Fools, but it's not April Fools.
No, yeah, she said the next one is April Fools.
No, I think it's seriously canceled.
Why is everything canceling?
I have no idea.
Where is everybody?
Hey, man. What's it gonna take for Glenn?
8:08. Let's see if we got everybody back.
We had enough. Let's get the show on the road.
Ollie, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
James?
Yep.
Tracy? Tracy?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so Kathy Linnemeyer, our wonderful assistant up front here and an office manager, has done a lot of work with Michael on this next presentation, and she's going to walk the council through what we believe to be an excellent reworking of the boards and commissions. Kathy, whenever you're ready.
Give me 1 second. I'm having a little technical difficulty with my camera.
Okay.
With that,
It's
no, click the dot right there. Click.
Who's glad that we had to move the water rights to a next meeting? There's Kathy.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. Thank you for your patience. So tonight I am here to give you an update on the status of the boards and commissions. It's been a little while since we've talked about this. Our goal still is we're working to create the unified and integrated coordinated approach for supporting our advisory boards and commissions.
Yeah, let me fix it.
What's
Can you
happening?
mute your mic for a second?
One moment, please.
Is that a Christmas tree, Kathy?
I could put on my Star Trek theme again. Folks missed it. I feel like I'm on the Enterprise right now. Now we're back. Oh, that'd been great if she just would have. Now we're back.
Good job, Kathy. You're good. Don't worry.
Almost
Okay,
had that perfect
so I'm
timing.
going to apologize one more time. Sorry about that. Not had that technical difficulty on this so far. So let me go back here.
We just needed to play that Jeopardy song. Anytime we have some extra time to kill.
I got you, bud.
I like it. It's good waiting music. Star Trek theme's not bad though. It's okay. I do some Enterprise theme song pretty soon. Oh, here we go.
You'll be good now, okay?
Okay, what is this, like take 3? Let's just start from the beginning. Yes, okay. So the current status of our boards and commissions are, we have a lot of vacant terms. We have some expired terms. And we have the number of members that are all over the board. Some of them, as you can see, salary commissions 3, we have 5 members, 7 members, and the term lengths are also inconsistent. So we're trying to bring these more consistent and working towards our goals of unified, integrated, and coordinated approach for the boards and commissions. Let me move this over here. So when we met quite a while ago in August, we started this process. And then last month in February, I met with the council committees and asked for your feedback as on some of these items. So here we are, March. We're going to go over some of the feedback that you provided and ask you for some specific information on moving forward. We have created our templates for our agendas and taking in our minutes. And we've started our training process for the customer service staff who will be the support roles for the boards and commissions. One of the things one of the suggestions from council was to simplify the application. So we've simplified the application, gotten rid of information that we were requesting that we really don't need for volunteers, in hopes of making it easier for them to fill these out. Another item was council thought it would be a good idea to create a survey. So we created a survey, asked some pretty basic questions of our current and former volunteers that we had email addresses for. We sent the survey out to 16 volunteers, and of those 16, we got 7 surveys back. So one of the things, the overall application process, the majority felt like it was easy or extremely easy process to become a volunteer with the city. Majority felt like having meetings monthly was a good idea. Number of positions, we asked them if they 3, 5, or 7 positions that they felt for the committees, and it's pretty even, as you can see, 5 or 7. And the term length, there wasn't really a huge consistency here. 2 or 3 years seems to be common. Some of the boards and commissions, we feel like 4 and 5 years is a big commitment for people to give. A lot of people are really busy in their lives, and maybe a 2 or 3 year term would be a better, easier thing to commit to. So with that, the information that I'm asking tonight is, first one is term length. What are your thoughts on term lengths for council positions? Do you have an opinion?
Yeah. Sorry, can you hear me all right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I switched headsets. I was wondering, what was most of the count? Because I know you went to a lot of different committees. I was wondering what the kind of consensus was. Was there an average term? I know we heard a lot in multiple, or I heard in a lot. 4 years was pretty acceptable.
You know, it was 4, 3, 4, 5, right in there. It was pretty much across the board. There wasn't really one number that weighed heavily one way or another.
Yeah, I think maybe you could ask the question and then flip back to the slide that has the input so they have more time to see that.
On this one?
No, Joe's asking what the other council members said, not what the members of the boards. Is that correct, Joe?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was the council member, the input from council members was, you know, there was 4 years, 2, 3, and 4 year terms were the input that was received from the council members.
Well, why don't we just split it down the middle and call it 3 and make every single one of our commissions be 3 instead of, you know, multiple different commissions having different lengths. That way it's just so much easier for the staff to deal with in the long run.
I kind of liked it with the 4 years with the terms being up and starting on the year a mayor isn't elected. Just because I think all of these are mayoral appointments. Are they, or are they not, Kathy?
They are mayor appointed and council confirmed. Some of them the mayor can appoint. The majority of them are mayor appoints and council confirms. And that's another question we'll get to a little bit further on here.
You guys think that 2 years is too short because it's less intimidating for volunteers? And then you can always re-up for longer.
I do. I would prefer to see that that it go like a 4 year term, possibly with rotating every 2, you know, alternating, I mean, for between election cycles. So then you have the continuity of somebody who knows what's going on.
With all of the boards and commissions, we would look at the expiration dates to be staggering so that we didn't have, we would have people expiring, you know, and new people coming in and rotating. We wouldn't want the committee, you know, any of them to expire and have new people coming in all the time.
Most of these committees, though, they're the same people over and over again, aren't they? They do multiple terms.
We do have on several of the committees, we do have a few people that serve on multiple committees.
I mean, the same committee over, they get appointed and reappointed.
Yes, some of them have served quite a few terms, yes.
Would you say the majority of them?
I don't have the numbers on the history.
Fair. Okay. It just I just seemed to when I saw those presentations, it just seemed like the same people were being just appointed and reappointed year after year with a couple new faces here and there. But I get that comment by Tad, and that's well received, to stagger them out. That makes sense.
You know, and moving forward too is once we establish any changes that council decides to make, you know, this tonight, of course, is just a discussion. We would be bringing back any changes to the March 23rd council meeting for further council discussion and approval. So tonight is just discussing these and trying to get, you know, an idea of where you guys are at as a group and how we can move forward with this.
So this is Molly. I'm totally okay with 4 years if that's what you guys want to do. I'm not, you know, married to any one of those ideas, but 4 is fine with me.
Does anyone else have an opinion on the term? And as far as bringing back information to the March 23rd meeting? Do we want 4 years? Is that kind of what you guys are thinking?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, next item is the number of members for each committee. So we did see the slide earlier where we've got several that, you know, so one, the salary commission, we have 3. The majority is 5. Parks and Tree Advisory are 7. And then we have some like the Arts Commission is 5 to 12, Police Advisory 6 to 12. And so we'd really like to bring that more consistent also.
I'd like to see them at 5, make it consistent unless it's mandated by RCW that it has to be a certain amount.
Yeah, I'm okay with 5. I think 12 is asking a lot of anybody, and you know, 12 people at a meeting is going to be like wrangling cats. So I think 5 is good. Plus that way it's easier to fill up the entire committees, because if one's filled, they go, oh, well, maybe I'll apply for another one.
If I remember right, and I could be wrong, the police one is, I think that's what the RCW says is 6 to 12. JW, you want to confirm? I don't remember exactly.
That's correct. It needs to have at least 6 on it. That's okay though. It can stand alone.
Okay. Thank you for that. And just one other thing, if I can add real quick, is once we get these established, you know, we're going to promote this. We're going to really try to reach out to the community and get volunteers to fill these positions. There's a lot of empty positions, so we're going to advertise it. You know, we're going to get it out on social media. We'll get it in the newspaper, and we're just really going to try to promote this as the best we can and try to get these spots filled so that for our committees, so they can become active. I think last year was a little different for everyone.
Is there any requirement that they have to be inside the city limits, to live inside the city limits to be on these committees?
Joe, you totally read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to ask. And I think that there should not be a requirement, because there's a lot of people who live outside the city who are like, well, I'm in Lake Lawrence and I, you know,
pay taxes.
I shop and I play and I work in Yelm. I'd like some input. And so I think that we should not have it be a requirement that they live inside the city.
They don't all require you to be inside the city limits, and I will double check and make sure there's before the 23rd. I'll double check and make sure we don't have any outlying rules of that.
Not even the planning commission, you have to live in the city.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and if it doesn't have it, like the other one, if it doesn't have an RCW that specifies it within the city limits, I'd like to see it open to anyone that has a Yelm address.
Okay, expiration date of terms. This one's pretty easy. We have a couple, most of the terms expire December 31st. And we do have a couple, one of them said is December 1st, one of them was August 30th. And it just makes sense if the council agrees to change that to December 31st for all of them.
What about January 1st? To line in at least with new council and new mayors to make those appointments.
To have it expire January 1st?
So you can appoint, so the new council and new mayor can appoint rather than the outgoing mayor or council.
well, they still would appoint the new ones, wouldn't they?
Usually it works as,
The day after.
yeah, well, I mean, usually, I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter too much, but yeah, just my thoughts on it.
Does anyone else have any opinions or thoughts on that?
I'm fine with December 31st.
Councilman Wood here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if it expires on December 31st, that's end of the day, December 31st. So it would include the entire December 31st. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense then. Good point.
And for any terms that expire on December 31st, we will have in our procedures for the boards and commissions, we'll be looking at those a couple of months early. And so we'll be advertising to fill those positions and, working to get those filled ahead of time so that January 1st, we'll have people ready to step into those positions for any that are vacant.
Sounds good. So 31st.
Next up is appointing authority. Most of the boards and commission committees are mayor appointed and council approved. There's a couple that are mayor appointed. And so do we want to bring that all consistent so that they're all the same, mayor appointed and council approved?
I like that.
Can't we
So
just do council appointed? I mean, is there anything that says it has to be mayor appointed?
That would be up to the council. It doesn't have to be.
Why don't we have it be council appointed and mayor approved? That way, I mean, I don't know. I mean, but I don't know.
Well,
We have to have anybody approve it?
The council would be, once the council approved, it would stand as approved. So the mayor wouldn't approve, the council appoint and the mayor approve. That would be backwards.
Well, I mean, it could work that way where the council, like Molly was saying, approves it and the mayor could veto it, let's say, and then just like a normal veto, the council could override if they have enough. Throwing it out there. I don't think these are going to be that controversial of decisions for us. But.
Which one doesn't need council approval, Kathy? You said there was one that was mayor and mayor.
You know what? I don't have that right in front of me. I apologize.
Well, I'm fine with mayor and council.
Yep, same. Because I think the idea of that is the applications are going through the
executive branch.
The executive branch. And the executive branch is looking over the applications, choosing the applicant. They put their pick forward and the council says yes or no.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. This is Molly, by the way.
It does keep a lot of the work within City Hall, you know, for collecting the applications, reviewing the applications, that sort of thing. If the past is any indicators, it's, you know, we haven't had an abundance of applications coming in for these. I'm hoping that once we start advertising and reaching out to citizens, and that we'll have more people wanting to be involved in our committees. So next one is, we do have quite a few expired terms for council members who are eligible to for renewal and who do want to be renewed, and they do want to serve. Does council want us to automatically renew these terms, or do we want them to go through the application process with the other ones? And if you want, I mean, I could go back to the slide. We've got, let me back up here.
I like for them to renew, but perhaps put them on a fast track where it would just require like a council approval or something, or a mayor approval or something.
I like, if you want to continue volunteering, you can be automatically approved.
I just worry on that one. If there's someone on there for decades and decades and has like a lifetime appointment.
That's
Stagnant
okay.
Ideas.
Historic Commission, a lifetime appointment is good.
On the what?
Historical Commission, lifetime historical. Just joking. Getting punchy.
Also, here's a thought. What if, okay, let's just, you know, hypothesize the impossible here. Let's say all of our commissions are completely full. You know, they're all chock-a-block with members, and there's a waiting list to get in. If we allow those people who want to continue to just continue and continue and continue, then we don't ever get any fresh new people in, even though there's a waiting list. I mean, you know, just pretend that the best possible, you know, scenario happens, and we have a lot of people that want to do this, and they aren't ever given the chance because we have an automatic renewal.
So it could be on an individual basis what we think at the time.
Well,
it's a good point, Molly. Yeah.
I mean, it would be a wonderful problem to have. You know, I don't know. I would say make them go through the process again. It's not, you know, I mean, if they said it was easy, then it's going to be easy. It's a 2-page application. If they really want to do it, they should be willing to write through the application. If they don't want to do the application, then that seems to me like they don't really want to do it.
So then, are you saying, Molly, that you would want us to go ahead and advertise those positions that are expiring, even though there's a current person who wants to renew their term? We would just advertise it as normal and see what we get, and then make the decision from there.
That's what I would say, yes.
Yep.
I think
absolutely.
Tracy has his hand up too. I don't know if he wants to comment on this.
Thank you, council member. My question is how many vacancies do we have across the board right now for these boards and commissions?
Isn't that what's on the screen right now?
There's 48 vacant terms total.
Oh
that will change once we reduce those numbers. Right now, the Arts Commission and Police Advisory Commission are each vacant at 12 members. If we reduce that down to our 5 members that we discussed earlier, that would be reduced.
Okay, so but we've got quite a significant amount of vacancies. And are we really sitting here discussing criteria? I mean, it seems like anybody who would be willing to apply, we'd be happy to take just to fill a seat at this point, because we have nobody showing up to even show interest in this. So it just seems odd to me that we're having a discussion and a debate on how we're going to limit our applicants from from qualifying, or, I mean, it just seems like we're spinning our wheels here. I'd say anybody that applies, let's take them. And if we have open seats and somebody in a seat that wants to continue with it, well, we'd only be shooting ourselves in the foot. I mean, I understand if we had a list of people that were sitting around wanting to be a part of this and expressing this to us and, letting us know on a regular basis that this was what they were interested in, but doesn't sound like that's what we've got. Sounds like we're lucky to have what we have. And I don't think we ought to, put the pressure on them to, hey, you need to reapply if you want to do this, because there's certain people that are going to say, that are of value to us. They're going to say, well, I guess you don't take my presence here and my input as value if you're going to make me reapply for something that nobody else has outwardly expressed any interest in. Thank you.
So what about if there are vacancies in a commission, like say if there's even one vacancy on the Parks Advisory? It's got 4 people in it. There's one vacancy. We don't make any of the current people reapply because we say, look, we already don't have enough people. Nobody needs to reapply. If and only if we're fully staffed or fully stocked up, then maybe ask people to reapply.
I think that's a great idea, and I think we ought to cross that bridge when we get to it. But at present
That's why I say it's a case by case basis. I mean, if it's a no brainer to let somebody continue, then you just do it.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it is over and what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think it's a very big ask to ask someone to fill out an application once every 4 years. Just like with council, if you want to run again or you want to serve another term, you have to file to apply basically for the position. Now, if no one else is applying for it, then you're automatically going to win and there's no issue. But I think every 4 years it should be advertised, because every 4 years there might be new people that don't realize that that's even an option. So yeah, I think you should put in your application every 4 years. And if no one else is applying, then you're going to get back on no matter what. And if you've done a really good job, more than likely the current mayor is going to reappoint you anyway.
That's true.
Once again, I'd like to stress that you're asking people to put in for a position that that presently we are overwhelmingly short on people interested in the position. And I think that you're going to run across more often than not in that scenario, people that may be thinking it's time, I've been doing this a while and, maybe I'll go do something else. And then we find ourselves in a position where now we've got another vacant seat because we've added this new, from my perspective, unnecessary step. And as far as the analysis comparing it to being elected to a position on the council, that we don't apply. Absolutely, we don't. If we do, our application process is called an election. There's no applying for it. You sign up to be to be on the ballot, but I wouldn't consider that applying, because we're really not expressing to anybody, as far as with the state of Washington or any entity as far as that goes, that we're asking for them to put us in that position. We're running it. We're running for the position, asking the citizens to put us in that position. So I think you're comparing apples to oranges there, council member.
But in terms of consistency, maybe we should just go with the protocol and just resubmit your 2-page form and run again, ask again. That's all, just to keep it consistent.
It sounds like there's some good discussion on this. Perhaps we just leave this open to our next meeting when we actually discuss and have that debate and have the vote.
Does that sound like what everyone wants to do is debate, think about it, and then discuss it further at the next meeting? Or it would be the March 23rd when we would bring this forward.
Not hearing any opposition. Perhaps in light of time, we continue.
Is this something we're voting on or just discussing?
No, we're just discussing. There's no vote. We're just discussing it. Just kind of trying to get a consensus from, where everyone's at, what everyone's thinking.
Who thinks we should reapply on paper? And who thinks we shouldn't? How many?
I think we've already talked about it.
Kathy, when you submit this to the council for their action on the 23rd, please just have both options. And the council can discuss that, choose which option they'd like to include and move forward. Okay, next.
That was all I have. Any other questions that council has? I know it's getting kind of late and everyone's probably getting tired.
There is a question I'd like council to discuss. It goes along with this last item. What would you like to do about taking care of committee members who are not living up to the expectation of a committee member? Do you want to create a path for removal, such as with the city council? If you don't show up to 3 consecutive meetings without calling in to be excused, you're removed by RCW. If you have somebody on one of your boards or commissions who's not fulfilling the obligation, how do you want to address that?
I personally don't think so. I mean, it's all level of what the elected official is comfortable with. And, I'm not trying to say that one person's better than the other around here, but if there's a council member that wants to do less work, that person's entitled to that. And I know that sounds odd and it might not seem fair, but there's an election process for that. If there's not a good council member that people don't think they're attending meetings, or if they're not really active or anything.
You're missing my point, Joe. I'm talking more about the boards and commissions that we have volunteers from the community sit on. If you have somebody who's taking up a position on the planning commission but doesn't show up to any of the meetings, does the council want to have a process in place by which to replace them, or just leave it open and unfilled really until their term expires?
Respectfully, I do get your point. And I don't think, as for me, if I'm on a committee with 2 other members and they want to do less work than me, or if they want to do more work than me, I mean, more power to them. If I do have an issue with them, I would like shouldering too much work or not doing enough, I think it's appropriate for that council member to talk to those committee members one-on-one and say, hey, I'm shouldering a lot of this work. Could you start making these meetings or whatever? But whether they attend or not, I think that's up to that individual council member.
Joe, he's not talking about
volunteers who sit on our boards and commissions, like the tree board, the historic commission, the planning commission, not a council member, a volunteer who doesn't fulfill their obligation, and you end up with an ineffective board because of their non-participation. Does the council wish to have a process by which to replace that person on that volunteer position? That's my question.
I apologize. I completely messed up that. I misunderstood that.
So perhaps we could ask for other council members' opinion on that matter, or you could just leave it alone.
So,
Member Kaminsky?
I agree. I would like to see volunteers equally accountable to the boards they volunteer for. 100%.
yeah, I agree. And, this goes back to the application process. If we're going to say that they need to be responsible and show up to meetings, or, if they miss like 3 meetings in a row, then their position becomes vacant. It's the same thing, goes back to filling out an application. If you can't be bothered to fill out an application once every 4 years, then do you really want to be there? That's my take on the whole thing.
Don't volunteer for something you're not going to show up for. So
right.
Not even,
if you can't be bothered to fill out a 2-page form every 4 years, and you possibly can't be bothered to show up, why are you even there? So I think that we need to basically, I definitely think that we should have a process in place whereby if somebody does not show up for, I don't know, however many meetings, if they, and it depends on their meeting schedule too. If they have a monthly meeting schedule or a quarterly meeting schedule, what happens if somebody misses 3 quarterly meetings out of an entire year? That's a lot of meetings.
Chad?
Yeah, I would agree. I think that we need to have a similar type of situation where if they miss a certain number of meetings, then we need to find a replacement for somebody that's going to be there. I think that's critical because those meetings are important, whether they're weekly, monthly, or whatever. So I think that some kind of procedure that if they meet once a quarter, maybe if they miss 2 meetings, whatever that looks like. But I think we do need to have something in place for that.
Work for simplicity, we should make it the same rules as for us. If you can't come, you have to call. That's what the thing is. Same exact process is what I would say.
So 3 unexcused consecutive meetings.
Yep.
I see some consensus on that. Kathy, why don't you write that in? And again, we can have more discussion on it at the 23rd when it's an action item.
I apologize, Mary. I misunderstood that. Maybe it's the lateness of the meeting, but I'm sorry about that. I misunderstood you. I'm fine with what they said.
Okay, good.
Can I clarify one thing before we finish up here? Is with the asking them to reapply, when I was referencing that, I was not just asking them to fill out an application again, but do we have them fill out the application and advertise, to recruit other people? So it wasn't just, I kept hearing, if they don't want to fill out an application. And my thought process was not just if they did, have them fill out the application, but do we fill out the application and re-advertise it also?
I would say yes.
Okay. I just wanted to
Yes.
clarify. Thank
I
you.
would agree.
That
And
is
thank
all
you,
I have. And I apologize for those mess ups in the beginning, getting my screen share. But I hope everyone has a good night.
And thank you,
Kathy,
Kathy.
thank you so much for all the work that you put into this. Something I asked you to do when you first came on. It's something I've been really wanting to get cleaned up for a long time. And you took it in hand and really worked it out well. So this is going to help people get motivated to be on our boards and commissions. And it'll be a lot easier to track going forward. So thank you again.
Yes, you're welcome. And we do also, the staff, the customer service staff is excited. They're, we started our training process and they're so excited to also staff these boards and commissions and, start that new process. So more to come.
Thank you, Kathy. You did a lot of work and I've seen it, and just echoing the mayor's sentiments. You did a lot of work on these committees. I've seen you in 2 committees doing it. You put in a lot of time and effort. You did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty then. We are now at the end of our presentations as we've moved to water rights. So we can quickly go through any other initiatives that the council members would like to bring forward. The only thing is I would like to present first is in response to a request from regional partners all over the South Sound and actually nationally. Yesterday it was conceived to have a COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Day, a Memorial Day. And so in honor of that, I put together this proclamation. I will read it to you. It's in your packet and it's been distributed and put on our Facebook post. Going forward, future administrations will have to consider whether they're going to do this on a regular basis, an annual basis, as in remembering some of our other national days. I think there is a national effort to make the COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day a thing. So this is how our proclamation read yesterday. Whereas the city of Yelm joins family, friends, and community members in celebrating the lives and memorializing the legacies of COVID-19 victims and survivors. And whereas declaring a COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day recognizes the catastrophic effects the virus has had on countless lives globally. And whereas recognizing a COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day expresses profound sympathy for the surviving family members, coworkers, friends, and neighbors devastated by their loss. And whereas bringing attention to a COVID-19 Victim and Survivors Memorial Day encourages citizens to continue to adhere to public health guidelines by wearing a mask, socially distancing, and obtaining a vaccination as soon as possible to prevent the spread of COVID-19. And whereas the city of Yelm honors each life lost to COVID-19 and gives their deepest condolences to their loved ones. Now, therefore, I, J.W. Foster, Mayor of the City of Yelm, encourage all to remember the lives lost and support those who continue to struggle with their loss, and hereby proclaim March 1st, 2021 as COVID-19 Victims and Survivors Memorial Day in the city of Yelm, Washington. So again, we have posted that. We have forwarded that on to a couple of national groups that are trying to advocate for a national Memorial Day. And you will also see going forward as we continue the Memorial Wall project in Yelm City Park, that this will be one of the memorials that we will be erecting. And so that is all I have for you tonight. We'll start in order and go through the list of council members to see if you have any other initiatives. Councilmember Blair.
I do have a question. I mean, is that a couple times previously, I've asked if we could get an explanation from the planning department regarding the driveway regulations, and why those are in place, why that's needed. And if so, council decides that it's not necessary, how do we go about changing that? And I haven't seen any response from that. I would like that to be put on an upcoming study session so we can talk about it and determine any changes that may be necessary.
Okay, I apologize if I've missed that request by email. Could you resend that request to me by email, James, and I'll make sure that we follow through on that.
Absolutely. And I'll get with Michael later about. I don't think I've actually put that through in the formal form, so I will do that.
Okay, thanks. Anything else, James?
No, that's it.
Councilmember Carmody?
I've got nothing. I have intercity transit tomorrow.
Councilmember Stillwell?
I have no initiative.
I know better. Councilmember Wood?
I've been really putting a lot of thought into Yelm supporting a NASCAR track that surrounds the entire city. That's about it.
Yeah, I've been there, tried that. Didn't go well. But thank you for keeping the dream alive. Councilmember DePino.
That's funny. I like it. It's a good idea. I do have one initiative. I'll just be brief about it. This is something that Cody Colt, when he was a council member, actually started, and I'm trying to go with it. And I think it's a great idea. Some of you may have heard about it, a possible drone show, like a fireworks show, but with drones. It's pretty innovative, pretty neat. I talked to Lynn, who's on here right now, about it and got her feedback, and Cody's supportive of it from previous, obviously, when he was on council. And I think it would be a fun thing to do. Gonna still go down the path of looking at sponsorships and seeing if this is feasible to get paid for. And if so, I'll try to bring a cooked plan for the council to review and discuss further. That's it.
Okay. Councilmember Kaminsky. Terry, calling Terry.
I have no initiatives, Mayor.
Okay. Well, then I do. Michael, did you have any follow-ups or tie-ups?
No, Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor,
I'll check on him in a minute. That doesn't sound like him.
is this a record for tonight?
Oh, no.
What's our longest one that we've been?
Well, this may be a record for this particular council, but in days gone by, council study sessions frequently went 3 hours. So
What's the longest one you've been in?
oh, gosh, I don't know. We went over 4 hours many times,
Ooh.
but we also took a little break in the middle for lunch, for supper.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yep.
Okay, well, then if there's nothing else, I do want to thank the folks in the audience who attended tonight. Thank you for your patience if you're still there. And I want to thank our staff for stepping up and providing us with the technical support and the backstory support for a lot of these presentations. And of course, thank you to Deb and Susie and to Lynn for their presentations tonight. And with that, we can just say goodnight to one another.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.